I stared at the blank page in my sketchbook. It was a big, white, empty space. A bit like me, really. Empty. My pencils were all lined up, sharp and ready, but my hand wouldn't move. It felt heavy, like it was tied to something I couldn't see. I used to love drawing. I would fill books like this one with faces and flowers and funny-looking cats. Now the pages stayed clean. It was easier that way. Less to explain, less to have an opinion about. Jake didn't really like my drawings. He said they were a waste of time. He said I should be focused on more important things, like him. Chloe, my best friend, says my eyes have lost their sparkle. She says I look like a ghost sometimes, drifting through the school corridors. I try to smile for her, I really do, but it feels like my mouth has forgotten how. It's a bit like trying to remember the words to a song you used to love. You know the tune, but the words are all jumbled up and lost. Jake says I'm too sensitive. He says I think too much. Maybe he's right. All I know is that this feeling, this gray, heavy feeling, follows me everywhere. It sits with me in class. It walks home with me. It's here with me now, staring at this empty page. I traced the edge of the paper with my finger. It was smooth and perfect. I didn't want to ruin it. What if I drew something wrong? What if it wasn't good enough? These questions buzzed in my head like angry bees. They were Jake's questions, really, but they sounded like my own now. He would look at my old drawings and point out all the flaws. The nose was too big, the eyes were wonky, the colors were silly. At first I argued, but his voice was so sure, so confident that I started to believe him. So I stopped. It was just easier to stop. Sometimes I miss the old me. The girl who would doodle on her napkins and her textbooks and even the back of her hand. She was messy and loud, and she wasn't afraid to make mistakes. Where did she go? I feel like I'm looking for her in a thick fog. I can just about see her outline, but when I reach out, my hand goes straight through. Jake says he made me better. He says he helped me grow up. But growing up shouldn't feel this small. It shouldn't feel this quiet and this gray. It shouldn't feel like being erased. Jake could be so lovely. That was the problem. If he was horrible all the time, it would be easy. I would have walked away ages ago, but then he would smile, and the whole world would seem to light up. He would bring me a single daisy he'd picked from the park. He would tell me my hair looked pretty. He would hold my hand so tightly, as if he never wanted to let go. In those moments, I would forget everything else. I would forget the sharp words and the dark moods. I would tell myself that this was the real Jake. The other stuff was just a mistake, a bad day. But the bad days were getting more and more frequent, like dark clouds gathering before a storm. He didn't like me talking to other boys. He didn't even like me laughing too loudly with Chloe. He'd get this look in his eyes, a cold, hard look. He would say things like, "Don't you care what people think?" Or, "You're embarrassing me, Lila." His words were like little stones, and he threw them so often that I was always covered in bruises you couldn't see. He'd check my phone, reading my messages. He said it was because he cared about me so much. He said he was just protecting me. I tried to believe him. I really did. I wanted to believe that this was what love was like. Intense, all-consuming. He would call me his whole world. It sounded romantic, but it felt like I was living on a tiny, lonely island, and he was the only other person there. He'd get angry if I was a few minutes late meeting him after school. He'd accuse me of lying, of seeing someone else. The arguments would be loud and scary, and then they would end with him holding me and saying he was sorry. He'd say he just couldn't bear the thought of losing me, and I'd forgive him, every single time. My mom and dad didn't understand. They saw the charming Jake, the polite boy who always said please and thank you. They didn't see the way his fingers would grip my arm too tightly when he was annoyed. They didn't hear the way his voice would drop to a whisper, saying things that made my stomach twist into knots. I felt like I was living two different lives. There was the life everyone else saw, with the perfect boyfriend. And then there was my life, the real one, the one filled with fear and confusion and walking on eggshells, trying not to make him angry. Chloe found me in the library during lunch. I was hiding there, pretending to read a book. I didn't want to go to the canteen. I knew Jake would be there with his friends, and I just didn't have the energy to put on my happy face. Chloe slid into the chair opposite me and pushed a packet of crisps across the table. "You weren't answering your phone," she said, her voice soft. I was worried. I just shrugged, not looking up from my book. The words on the page were a blur. I couldn't focus. I couldn't do anything but think about the argument we'd had this morning. "Is it Jake again?" she asked gently. I hated that she knew. I hated that my misery was so obvious. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to pretend everything was fine. But with Chloe, I couldn't. She saw right through me. She had been my best friend since we were 5 years old and used to make mud pies in her garden. She knew my real smile, and she knew this fake one I wore like a mask. I finally looked at her, and I felt my bottom lip tremble. A single tear escaped and rolled down my cheek, splashing onto the library book. I quickly wiped it away, embarrassed. "Lila, he's changing you," Chloe whispered, leaning forward. "You never come out with me and the girls anymore. You canceled on cinema night again last week. You're always making excuses. And you've stopped drawing. Your sketchbook is just gathering dust in your bag." Every word was true. I had pushed everyone away. It was easier than explaining why I had to check in with Jake every hour, or why I couldn't stay out past 9 o'clock. It was easier than admitting that I was scared of him, scared of his anger, scared of his silence. He worries about me, I mumbled, the same old excuse. It sounded weak even to my own ears. "No, Lila," Chloe said, her voice firm but kind. "He controls you. There's a difference. Worrying is your mom telling you to wear a coat. Controlling is telling you who you can and can't be friends with. It's not right. You deserve so much better. You deserve to be happy. Remember how you used to laugh? That big, loud laugh that made everyone else smile? I miss that laugh." Her words hung in the quiet library air, and for the first time, I let myself really hear them. A few days later, Chloe insisted we go to the park after school, just the two of us. I was nervous. I told Jake I had a dentist appointment. The lie felt sticky in my mouth. I hated lying. We sat on our favorite swing set, the one we'd used since we were little. For a while, we just swung in silence, the chains creaking in a familiar rhythm. The cool afternoon breeze felt nice on my face. It felt clean. It felt different from the stuffy, tense air that always seemed to surround me and Jake. "This is nice," I said quietly, and I meant it. "We used to do this all the time," Chloe said, looking over at me. "Remember? We'd try to swing so high our feet could touch the leaves on that big oak tree." I smiled, a real small smile. I did remember. We'd shriek with laughter, convinced we were about to fly right off into the sky. It felt like a lifetime ago. A different girl had sat on this swing. A girl who wasn't afraid. A girl who didn't check her phone every 2 minutes, her stomach clenching with anxiety. Jake would be expecting me to call. My time was almost up. "Lila, I want you to listen to me," Chloe said, stopping her swing and turning to face me properly. "You don't have to live like this. You're not alone. I'm here. Your family is here. We love you. This isn't love, what you have with him. Love doesn't make you feel small and scared. It's supposed to make you feel safe. It's supposed to make you feel like the best version of yourself." She reached out and took my hand. Her hand was warm and steady. It didn't grip too tight. It was just there, a simple, solid promise of support. Tears welled up in my eyes again, but this time they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of something else, maybe relief. "I'm scared, Chloe," I whispered, the words I had held inside for so long finally tumbling out. "I don't know how to leave him. He'll be so angry." "We'll do it together," she said, her voice full of a strength I wished I had. "One small step at a time. The first step is just deciding that you deserve more. Can you do that? Can you just believe that you deserve to be happy?" I looked at my best friend, her face so full of hope, and for the first time in forever, I nodded. The next day was honestly the hardest day of my life. Chloe walked with me to the spot where I always met Jake after school. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst right out of my chest. My palms were all sweaty, and I just kept twisting the strap of my school bag, like, over and over. Chloe gave my arm a squeeze. She said, "I'll be right over there," and pointed to a bench just a little way off. "I won't leave. Just say what you need to say. Be brave." I took a deep breath. Brave. I really didn't feel brave. I felt like a terrified little mouse about to face a very big cat. When Jake arrived, he was smiling. That charming, brilliant smile. "Hey you," he said, leaning in to kiss me. I turned my head so his lips landed on my cheek. He frowned immediately. "What's wrong with you?" he asked, and his voice was already changing, the warmth just disappearing. "We need to talk," I said, my own voice a pathetic squeak. I cleared my throat and tried again, forcing myself to look him in the eye. "Jake, I don't think we can be together anymore." The words came out in a rush, clumsy and weak, but, well, they were out. His face went from confused to angry in like a split second. It was terrifying. "What are you talking about?" he spat, his voice low and dangerous. "Is this because of your stupid friend? Has she been putting ideas in your head? He took a step towards me and I instinctively took a step back. I could see Chloe stand up from the bench out of the corner of my eye. Her presence gave me a tiny sliver of courage. No, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. This is about me. I'm not happy, Jake. I haven't been happy for a long time. You hurt me. I hurt you? He scoffed, laughing this harsh, ugly laugh. I love you. I do everything for you. You're nothing without me, Lila. You'll come crawling back in a week, you'll see. He reached out to grab my arm, but I flinched away. No, I said louder this time. It's over. I turned and walked away, my whole body trembling. I didn't run, even though I wanted to. I just walked, putting one foot in front of the other towards Chloe. I didn't look back. I could feel his angry stare burning into my back, but I just kept walking towards my friend. The first few weeks were honestly so strange. My phone was just quiet. The silence was both a relief and, yeah, a little bit scary. I felt like a part of me was missing, even though it was a part that had caused me so much pain. Chloe was amazing. She was like my shadow, but a happy, bubbly one. She made sure I was never alone unless I actually wanted to be. She encouraged me to join the school's art club, something I had wanted to do for ages but never did because Jake had said it was for weirdos. I was nervous walking in for the first time, but the art teacher, Miss Evans, had the kindest smile. She didn't tell me what to draw or how to draw it. She just gave me a huge piece of paper and a set of paints. Just see what happens, she said. So I did. I picked up a brush and dipped it in the brightest yellow I could find. I made a big, bold stroke across the paper. Then I added orange and pink and a brilliant, beautiful blue. I wasn't drawing anything in particular. I was just letting the colors flow. It felt good. It felt like I was washing away all the gray that had been inside me for so long. Chloe also dragged me along to a self-defense class at the local community center. I felt so silly at first, punching and kicking the air. But the instructor, a woman named Sarah, was brilliant. She taught us how to stand tall, how to use our voices, how to be aware of our own strength. Your body is your own, she would say. You have the right to feel safe in it. After a few classes, I started to feel a change. I was walking with my head held a little higher. I felt less like a victim. I felt stronger, not just in my arms and legs, but inside too. Slowly, I started to piece my life back together. It was like finding parts of myself that I had packed away in a dusty old box. I went to the cinema with Chloe and our friends. We laughed so loudly that people told us to be quiet, and it was honestly the best feeling in the world. I started talking to people in my classes again. I realized I had missed so much. I had been so focused on Jake's world that I had completely forgotten about my own. It was a slow process, like a flower turning towards the sun. But I was finally starting to grow again. The art club became my sanctuary. It was a place where there were no wrong answers. Miss Evans encouraged me to experiment, to be messy, to make mistakes. My sketchbook, once so terrifyingly blank, started to fill up. At first, my drawings were dark and chaotic, lots of black and gray scribbles and jagged, angry lines. It was how I felt inside. Miss Evans never judged them. She would just look at them and nod. Keep going, she'd say. It's all in there. You just have to let it out. And she was right. It was like I was pouring all my fear and sadness onto the paper. Then, gradually, the colors started to creep back in. I painted a huge, swirling ocean, with dark waves crashing at the bottom, but a bright, hopeful sky at the top. I drew a picture of a tiny, fragile-looking bird breaking free from a cage. I didn't plan it. It just happened. My hands seemed to know what my heart needed to say. One of the other students in the club, a quiet boy named Sam, told me he liked my drawings. He said they were full of emotion. It was the first compliment I'd had about my art in a very long time, and it made my cheeks go pink with pride. My confidence grew with every brushstroke. Miss Evans asked if she could display one of my paintings in the school corridor for the upcoming art exhibition. It was the one of the bird escaping the cage. I was so nervous, but I said yes. Seeing it hanging there for everyone to see was terrifying and wonderful all at once. People I didn't even know would stop to look at it. A younger girl told me it made her feel hopeful. That comment meant more to me than anything. My art, my feelings, had connected with someone else. My friendship with Chloe deepened, but I also made new friends. Sam from Art Club and I would talk about different artists and techniques. I joined the school newspaper as an illustrator. I was busy. I was engaged. I was part of things. I realized that my world wasn't a tiny island with only one other person on it. It was a huge, sprawling continent full of interesting places to go and amazing people to meet. I was the one who could draw the map. I was in charge of my own journey now, and I could paint it with any colors I chose. This morning I looked in the mirror. I really looked. For a long time I had avoided my own reflection. I didn't like the sad, tired girl who stared back at me. But today was different. The girl in the mirror had bright eyes. She had a smile that reached them. Her hair was a bit messy, but she didn't seem to mind. She looked happy. She looked like me. The old me, but stronger, wiser. She looked like she had been through a storm and had come out the other side, ready to feel the sunshine on her face. My room is different now too. My walls are covered in my own artwork, big canvases full of color and life. My new sketchbook sits on my desk and it's half full already, crammed with ideas and doodles and portraits of my friends. Chloe and I are planning a trip for the summer holidays. We're going to go camping by the sea, just us. I'm not scared, I'm excited. The thought of the future doesn't fill me with dread anymore. It fills me with possibilities. There are so many things I want to do, so many things I want to see. I saw Jake at school last week. He was with his friends and he looked over at me. For a tiny second, my stomach did a little flip of fear. It was an old habit, I suppose. But then I looked at him, really looked at him, and I didn't feel small. I didn't feel scared. I just felt nothing. He was just a boy from a chapter in my life that was now closed. I gave him a small, polite nod, and then I turned back to my friends and carried on laughing about a silly joke Chloe had just told. He had no power over me anymore. I know I still have things to learn. I know that life will have other challenges. But I also know that I am strong enough to face them. I have my friends, I have my family, I have my art. Most importantly, I have myself. I learned that my value doesn't come from a boy's approval. It comes from inside me. It comes from my kindness, my creativity, my laughter, and my strength. My name is Lila, and I am not a faded sketch. I am a work in progress, a masterpiece in the making, and I am painting my own future with the brightest colors I can find.